the people of Gaza a new chance.
From the heart of America, where hard work will define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
Our land in the shadow of Detroit, good morning. Glad to have you on board the Truth Train, kicking off another brand new day here at the Steve Gruber Show, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom, which always makes me ask, who do you want in your foxhole? A lot of work to do today. In fact, extra work. Let's get to it here at Three Big Things You Need to Know this hour. Number one, President Trump following through on his promise to block giant Wall Street firms from gobbling up single-family homes in an effort to help regular Americans buy homes. Maybe that's you. Number two, according to DHS, more than 100,000 illegal aliens applied for and got the cash bonuses offered to self-deport. Another win to take back our country. And number three, the World Economic Forum was created, it claims, for express purposes of improving the state of the world. But right now in Davos, we've got President Trump, who has put together the Board of Peace. We're going to keep it on live feed here for a moment. We're going to keep an eye on this for you. It's happening now. The Board of Peace is a gathered group of world leaders that sounds like it's more effective than the United Nations. This is all happening in Davos right now. This is a live look at what's happening in Switzerland. We'll keep an eye on that. If President Trump comes to the microphone, we will, of course, take that live. But the World Economic Forum, they promised improving the state of the world. But it's become nothing more than a globalist mosh pit for leaders who want to virtue signal no matter how things are not going their way. They talk about multiculturalism and climate change. Now the president has stepped to the microphone. Let's hear what he has to say in Davos, Switzerland, live.
This project, and it's a big one, but it's very doable. I said to Jared and Steve and some of the other folks, including Larry Fink, and congratulations on the great success. The two of you have done a fantastic job. This is bigger and better than ever. We usurped some of your time for a very important reason, and you understand that better than anybody, and we appreciate that you're here very much. Thank you both very much. But I said that, this is a great location. It all begins, see, I'm a real estate person at heart, and it's all about location. And I said, look at this location on the sea. Look at this beautiful piece of property, what it could be for so many people. It'll be so great. People that are living so poorly are going to be living so well. But it all began with the location. That's the vision. They look out on the waters, and very few places are like it. So we put together a team that's outstanding, a team that's done it before, a team that I think has done tougher jobs. If you want to know the truth, we've done some tough jobs. And we continue to. As far as the United States is concerned, we're behind it. And the United States has never been stronger, never been bigger, better. It's doing really well. You see that, building thousands of businesses, plants, factories all over the United States are right now under construction. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And this is just an honor to be involved with this and to be involved with the great people in this room and the great leaders that are sitting on stage. We thank you very much. And we have many others that have signed up, and they all want to be members of the Board of Peace because it really will be important. This is not going to be a waste of time. We waste so much time on things that never happen. This will happen, and it's already happening. Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to be with you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, there you have it. There you have it, President Donald Trump at the Board of Peace he has put together. Now, under President Trump during his first term and now, America stood strong as a beacon of independence during the World Economic Forum annual conference here in Davos. This is what he has just done. We'll continue to keep an eye on that and see where it goes. He's refusing to go along with the socialist talking points that everyone else is willing to regurgitate. Of course, diplomacy is important. We want allies, but we don't need countries that are completely dependent on us for the defense, or countries who think that they can police us on matters of freedom, or just send us the bill whenever they feel the need to do so. Davos has become a gathering of elites who are wholly out of step with the rest of the world, oftentimes, but not today with the Board of Peace. But the average man and woman, they're out of step with. It's become so obvious that even the chairman of the World Economic Forum, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, he admits it too. Listen to this.
We hear all about the elites. And how does that play out in an age of populism? How does an established institution make a difference in an era of deep institutional mistrust? And there's some truth to the critique. I believe in this forum for a long time. I certainly wouldn't be leading this if I didn't believe that we can change and make the world better. But it's also obvious that the world now places far less trust in us to help shape what comes next. If the World Economic Forum is going to be useful going forward, it has to regain that trust.
Yeah, I hate to bust your bubble, Larry, but you're not regaining that trust anytime soon. No one feels good about a bunch of the world's elites meeting to determine our future. We peasants actually believe in self-determination and freedom. But let's hit the highlights to see what these leaders are saying about how they intend on shaping the world. There's a lot of talk about a new world order, of course. I shared some of this with you yesterday. And now the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says it's time for a new Europe. A new Europe, too. Here's what she says.
This summer showed us that there is simply no room or no time for nostalgia. Battle lines for a new world order based on power are being drawn right now. So yes, Europe must fight for its place in the world, in which many major powers are either ambivalent or openly hostile to Europe, a world of imperial ambitions and imperial wars, a world in which dependencies are ruthlessly weaponized. And it is for all these reasons that a new Europe must emerge.
Yeah, now's as good a time as any to remind you that no one voted Ursula to do anything. She was appointed by elites. She serves elites like herself to make these empty talking points without the support of a single working man or woman anywhere in Europe or anywhere in the world. Trump's been telling Europe for the better part of a decade to carry their own weight. They've groaned, they've moaned, they've complained over the responsibility, but now we're supposed to believe them when they threaten that they're going to just do it alone without the U.S.? Well, I don't think so. Ursula then reiterated her belief that Greenland's future is up to NATO and Denmark only, with no thought for American security, even though America is the one who foots NATO's bills, supplies the vast majority of the equipment needed to protect the continent, and so much more. Unelected EU bureaucrats don't get to decide the future of America's national security. That's a fact. We will have operational control of Greenland. That's also a fact. That'll happen quickly. That happened at Davos as well. We'll continue to watch Davos, the live feed from Switzerland. We'll be right back. Good morning. It's the Steve Gruber Show. An incredibly busy few days in Davos, Switzerland, as we have seen. It's not just the Board of Peace, basically a replacement for the United Nations we've witnessed. But we've also seen a realignment here, a new declaration of independence, if you will, by Donald Trump, saying we're going to break from old ways that don't work. We're not just going to continuously go with the United Nations and things that fail. Of course, also front and center is Greenland and what happens there with national security. And it's not just for the United States. It's for Europe. It's for NATO. And NATO chief Mark Rutte shocked those in attendance by admitting that Donald Trump, the president, is right when it comes to what's happening in the Arctic. Listen to what he said.
So statements from me will not add anything here. And when it comes to the Arctic, I think President Trump is right. Other leaders in NATO are right. We need to defend the Arctic. We know that the sea lanes are opening up. We know that China and Russia are increasingly active in the Arctic. There are 8 countries bordering on the Arctic. 7 are a member of NATO. That's Finland and Sweden and Norway and Denmark, Iceland, Canada and the US. And there's only 1 country bordering on the Arctic outside NATO, and that's Russia. And I would argue there is a 9th country, which is China, which is increasingly active in the Arctic region. So President Trump and other leaders are right. We have to do more there. We have to protect the Arctic against Russian and Chinese influence. And that's exactly what NATO ambassadors decided to do in September. We are working on that, making sure that collectively we will defend the Arctic region.
There you have it, Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO, saying President Trump unequivocally right about controlling Greenland, defending NATO and Europe and Canada, and of course ourselves. So then why can't these leaders reach the same logical conclusion that it makes a lot more sense from a foreign policy standpoint to let America have control of Greenland first, instead of just waiting for Russia to take it, which would obviously draw us into a major war, possibly a world war. European leaders are all about virtue signaling, beating around the bush and saying one thing while doing something else. You know that's not Donald Trump's way. He's been clear, on point, and transparent since day one. And even then, he still had his words twisted against him. But he's gone on record again, making it clear that the United States isn't going to invade or take Greenland by force, like the Internet warriors claim. Here's what he said about it.
We never asked for anything, and we never got anything. We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force, where we would be, frankly, unstoppable. But I won't do that. Okay? Now everyone's saying, oh, good. That's probably the biggest statement I made, because people thought I would use force. I don't have to use force. I don't want to use force. I won't use force. All the United States is asking for is a place called Greenland, where we already had it, as a trustee, but respectfully returned it back to Denmark not long ago after we defeated the Germans, the Japanese, the Italians, and others in World War II. We gave it back to them. We were a powerful force then, but we are a much more powerful force now.
But he makes it clear we don't need force. We need cooperation and clear understanding. Get a globe, look at it. Understand how important Greenland is. It's a giant unsinkable aircraft carrier in the North Atlantic. You can just see all the world leaders squirming in their seats because they're so unused to someone just telling them like it is. Of course, we could take Greenland if we wanted to. We're not going to. So could Russia. And so could China. Which is why we need to plant our flag firmly first. No one wants a war. Certainly not Donald Trump. He put together the Board of Peace, signing those documents just within the last half hour. Trump's critics want you to believe that he's some sort of imperialist warlord, when a brief overview of the last year shows the opposite to be true. Trump's a fixer, a top negotiator. He is a man of peace. He wants to see the world at peace, but he wants to do it without sacrificing America's dominance as a leader in that peaceful world. The man's overseen the end of 8 wars, and now he's heading up the Board of Peace, something that he promises will be a lot more effective than the United Nations. How could it not be? The United Nations has been an abject failure. Here's one of his comments on it.
We just created the Board of Peace, which I think is going to be amazing. I wish the United Nations could do more. I wish we didn't need a Board of Peace, but the United Nations, and you know, with all the wars I settled, the United Nations never helped me on one war. I mean, I guess I'm not blaming them. I didn't call them to help, but I got, the presidents and prime ministers together. We knocked heads. We got along, and they liked me. I liked them. Every single one of them nominated me for a Nobel Prize.
Yeah, now this is a much bigger deal than most people realize, much bigger. For decades, the United Nations has sought to strong-arm and control America as part of its globalist utopia pipe dream. It has not delivered on its promises for world peace, not ever. It's been an abject failure since its creation. A board of peace that includes our president as the head is going to completely change that dynamic. That's a fact. And Trump says that many countries are eager to join in, as we just witnessed. Leaders from countries all over the world have joined in. Here's one more thing from the president.
You have committed to being permanent members of the board of peace.
Well, we're going to have a lot. We have a lot of great people that want to join. It's going to be the most prestigious board ever formed. The president is a member. We have the major countries, and some need parliamentary approval, but for the most part, everybody wants to be on. I have a little bit of the opposite problem. People want to be on, and we didn't ask them. They want to get on, but we'll look.
Now, this is the start of that new world order, but not exactly how Ursula had imagined it. It's a new era, one in which we stop propping up other countries and fighting their wars, but instead we empower them to self-govern and work for peace and freedom and liberty for all of its people. Because if everyone's being honest with themselves, the world can't continue on the path it's on. Sovereign nations that were once great bastions of culture and innovation being overrun as a result of open borders and descending into madness. Everyone can see it. Everyone knows it. This is the new world order. But boy, I'm not sure these folks saw Donald Trump being the architect of this new world order. But today he is, as he leaves Davos with some big victories. Nice to see you this morning. This is the Steve Gruber Show on Real America's Voice and MTN Networks. I'll be right back. All right, support for today's program comes to us from PuroClean's Veterans Initiative, PuroVet, investing in our nation's heroes by helping them own and operate their own thriving local business. If you're a veteran or know someone who is, PuroVet could be for you. Call 855-PuroVet or go to purovet.com. They'll put you to the front of the line, waive those franchise fees, and you can have your own business wherever you might be in these great United States. You know, but Donald Trump came out and teased the idea of a $1,000 deportation bonus last year, plus an airline flight out of the country if you were an illegal alien and wanted to self-deport, $1,000 and an airline ticket back home to wherever you came from. Well, today, the Department of Homeland Security reporting more than 100,000 illegals have taken up that offer. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin telling the Washington Times most of the migrants received the $1,000 check, but some applied to deport themselves. And the administration increased that bonus to $3,000 last month for the Christmas holiday. Here's $3,000. Buy some gifts, have a nice flight home. And, by the way, by doing this, you're not barred from coming back. You can get in line and go through the process of actually immigrating to the United States legally. What a concept. And, of course, it worked. Many critics, always many critics. I wonder how the critics today are going to react to Donald Trump and his Board of Peace. Bringing together world leaders to do what the United Nations has failed to do my entire life and yours. Stop war, stop genocide, stop famine. They failed at all of these things. It's time to put a new team in charge, which is, I think, exactly what we've witnessed today. Donald Trump and world leaders coming together for this Board of Peace. And he was asked, well, why would you let Vladimir Putin onto the Board of Peace? And the takeaway was generally that sometimes you have to get people you don't agree with or don't like or are not good people on board as well. Put them in a situation where they too can have a conversation and negotiate. It's a step forward, thinking differently about how to solve problems. The United Nations hasn't solved problems. The President of the United States is solving problems. That's pretty clear. And when he solves the problems of economic insecurity here in the United States, the midterms will be his. You bet your bottom dollar on it. The midterms will be his. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Big Pharma and its role of manipulating politicians and our economy. That also has to change. It's coming up straight ahead, right here on The Steve Gruber Show. All right, let's get back into it now. Big Pharma is demonized on a regular basis, and sometimes that's a good thing. But to be honest with you, Big Pharma also produces drugs that deal with diabetes and high blood pressure, heart disease, and so many other things. They do good things for us, but overall, maybe we need some reform. My next guest, J.D. Hayworth, spokesperson for the Pharmaceutical Reform Alliance and a former congressman from Arizona. of the House Ways and Means Committee, is joining me today. JD, welcome to the program.
Steve, great to be back with you. And I have a little good news and sadly a lot of concerning news for you today.
All right. Well, let's just start on a positive note. Let's start with that good news.
All right. The good news is congressional hearings coming up, I believe, Thursday on affordability. The bad news is the subcommittee of the Energy and Commerce Committee holding the hearings, while they've called in insurance company execs, among others, no CEOs from Big Pharma. And again, you and I have talked, Steve, this is where the American people are way out front of Washington. Our polling shows 84% of the American people say the high prices rest squarely on the big shoulders and the big pocketbook of Big Pharma. There's no doubt, as you mentioned, many of us rely on prescription drugs, and that's why it's such an outrage that we're paying on average 3 times as much as other patients in the developed world for these drugs. Let me just give you the numbers. This year, we're in 2026, so this month, Big Pharma raised prices on 350 prescription drugs, many of them dealing with the afflictions you talked about in your introduction here. And understand the price increases far outpace inflation, and there's no real clear
So to be clear, JD, they're sticking it to us again.
Exactly. And it's an increase in 2025. There were only about 250 drugs that they raised prices on. So here's what's going on. President Trump deserves credit for getting this started. And Big Pharma, even though he wrote, 17 of the big pharma corporations, they've come out and said, yeah, well, negotiate with us one by one or in smaller groups. It's a delay tactic. Meantime, they're raising prices. And you take a look at what's going on. If something is not done and the president wants to do it, he talked to the House Republican Conference as this second session of this particular Congress was about to go into session, saying, we got to lower these prices. The day before that, his pollster went to see the House Republican Conference saying, listen, this is something we need to deal with, the high prices, the affordability of prescription drugs. And again, it's not a partisan issue. When you have 84% of the American people, when you have 86% of likely voters saying they're going to back someone who stands up to Big Pharma for the House or the Senate, the handwriting is on the wall. The American people get it. President Trump gets it. But Congress needs to bring in the pharmaceutical company CEOs.
So here's the problem, JD.
Why are the prices going up like this?
You walk those hallways as a member of Congress, and you know as well as I do, the best, most influential, most well-heeled lobbyists come from one place, Big Pharma. Now, a lot of people have lobbyists, but Big Pharma, I mean, nobody spends more money on television than Big Pharma. Nobody spends more money in media than Big Pharma. Nobody spends more money in the halls of Congress, from what I can figure out, than Big Pharma. And so when they're offering members of Congress, Republicans, Democrats, doesn't matter, big money for their campaign coffers, it's pretty enticing. And it puts the American people not at the front of the line, but at the back of the line too often. Am I right or wrong?
Precisely. You're talking about something, the influence game over the past couple of years, $100 million going to lobbying and advocacy. And everybody's got a constitutional right, but Big Pharma doesn't have a right to try and buy the Congress of the United States and the U.S. Senate. But in the final analysis, they're big boys and they're professionals. They understand that when the price becomes overwhelming, and again, in our same polling, people responded, 51% of them said they know somebody, a friend, a family member, having to choose to delay some medication or parcel it out, basically choosing between prescription drugs and food. When you've got that kind of problem, the best thing Congress can do, in addition, in my opinion, to codifying the Put America First Act in terms of prescription drugs, the executive order that President Trump uh, uh, signed, it needs to be codified into law. But the other function of Congress, oversight and hearings, and they should call in the big pharma executives saying, why are you raising prices in a manner that far outstrips inflation and continues to cost the American people more? And as you touched on it, Steve, why these ads? Over the past few years, the total on that even exceeds lobbying.
Billions.
Yes,
Billions,
30,
JD. So I got to
30,
ask you this, though, because
30,
look, the focus from the left side of the aisle, the focus from the left side of the aisle is not to focus on this or the price of prescription drugs. They throw around the word affordability, but they don't really mean it. They're focused on Obamacare, which is a red herring, a failed platform that was designed to fail. So they're trying to get Americans to pay attention to that and how Americans are getting the short end of the stick with Republicans, and they're going to take away health care from millions of people and so on and so forth, which is just another Ponzi scheme for the American taxpayer to pay money out that, again, returns money to their campaign coffers while ignoring the real problems in health care. Look, we have the best health care in the world, JD. Everybody knows it. The only question is, can you have access to it? And all these games are played in Washington, which is why the popularity of Congress is at its lowest level that I can ever remember because of games like this. Your thoughts?
And again, I just got to tell you, because I used to be there, and this is an election year, when 86% of American voters say they want a candidate who stands up to big pharma, Republicans, Democrats, independents, libertarians, vegetarians better listen to this, because this is the issue. We hear about all the polarization. This is the issue that Americans get not only in the gut, but especially in the pocketbook. And
They
it
do.
will votes, no matter all the other tactics and all the sleight of hand that may or may not occur. This is the issue. Congress needs to call in the CEOs of the big pharma company and let them explain to the American people why they're jacking up prices far in excess of inflation.
I fully agree with you, JD. A lot of things to fix in healthcare. This is one of them. JD Hayworth, always appreciates you being here. He is the spokesperson for the Pharmaceutical Reform Alliance, and I thank you for spending time with us here today.
Always great. One final note, for more information, the website pharmareformalliance.com. Pharma with a PH, pharmareformalliance.com.
JD Hayworth, we'll talk again soon.
Look forward to it, Steve. Thanks.
And I'll take a break and be right back. This is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, back into it now. Look, a lot of things came out of the Davos gathering this year, a lot more impactful things. There's a deal in place, in principle, we're told, for Greenland. We don't know the details yet, we're told that. They unveiled the peace plan for Gaza. And they were asked, Jared Kushner was asked, what's your plan B? There is no plan B. This is the plan, how we're going to rebuild and put Gaza back together. A lot of good things. But some missteps as well. The president of Finland, among others, made some strange comments. In one interview yesterday, he said Europe doesn't need the United States to defend itself. And literally 10 minutes later in the exact same interview said, I never said that. It's incredible. Listen to this.
First is a direct answer to the question of this panel, can Europe defend itself? My answer is unequivocally yes.
Without the Americans?
Without the Americans, I mean...
How?
Well, look...
But you're relying on them for these key elements. You've said earlier that Europe can defend itself without the Americans. If it comes down...
not exact, Mike, so that's not a quote.
More or less, more or less. We'll go back to the transcript.
Let's stick to the left on this one, yeah?
More or less, more or less.
I love journalists.
I love journalists, he says. It was an exact quote. We can unequivocally defend ourselves without America. I never said that. Sometimes it's just mind-blowing, isn't it? Finland, you'd be in good shape to be nice to the United States. Again, you go back to Denmark. Denmark capitulated to the Nazis without a fight. That's why we defended Greenland after World War II and during World War II. In the Greenland Defense Pact, because they were not capable of defending that island at all. They couldn't defend their country at all. That has not changed, by the way. Prosperity comes from Western culture and Western civilization. This is a really important comment from Donald Trump during his address to the General Assembly there at the World Economic Forum. Really important. He said Western nations will be committing suicide by importing cultures from all over the world that have no relative relationship with Western civilization. Our prosperity didn't come from tax cuts. It came from our unique culture, who we are, what we are. Here's what he said.
The explosion of prosperity and conclusion and progress that built the West did not come from our tax codes. It ultimately came from our very special culture. This is the precious inheritance that America and Europe have in common. We share it. We share it, but we have to keep it strong. We have to become stronger, more successful, and more prosperous than ever. We have to defend that culture and rediscover the spirit that lifted the West from the depths of the Dark Ages to the pinnacle of human achievement. We live in an incredible, changing period. It's an unbelievable time, but we have to take advantage of the time that we're in. In our hands are technologies that our ancestors could scarcely have. I mean, they couldn't have even dreamt some of the things that we see today. And so rapidly they're produced. I mean, AI, 2 years ago, nobody ever heard of the term, and now everybody's talking about it. And it can have some very good purpose. It could also have some dangerous purpose, and for that, we have to watch out. But some tremendous things are happening because of it. And we're leading by so much. We're doing so well. But opportunities that are bigger and grander than ever before in human history are right before us. It is the pioneers in this room. Many of you in this room are true pioneers. You're truly brilliant people.
Yeah, brilliant people. We have to defend our very unique culture. He is exactly right. It is our culture, our work ethic, our dedication to faith, family, and country. Those are the things that still set the United States apart. I'm not so sure about the EU nations or Canada or others. Some on this side of the hemisphere are certainly improving. We'll get to that. But did you notice Gavin Newsom parading around with his coiffed hair and his hair gel? He made all these comments that the European leaders are pathetic. They should have knee pads because of the way they're kissing Donald Trump's feet. Ridiculous. So the Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, Well, he just went ahead and destroyed old Gavin Newsom. It was kind of fun to listen to. I think you should as well. Here it is.
I think it's very, very ironic that Governor Newsom, who strikes me as Patrick Bateman meets Sparkle Beach Ken, may be the only Californian who knows less about economics than Kamala Harris. He's here this week with his billionaire sugar daddy, Alex Soros, and Davos is a perfect place for a man who, when everyone else was on lockdown, when he was having people arrested for going to church, he was having $1,000 a night meals at the French Laundry, and I'm sure the California people won't forget that. And I can tell my message to Governor Newsom is the Trump administration is coming to California. We are going to crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse. And I was told he was asked to give a speech on his signature policies, but he's not speaking because what have his economic policies brought? Outward migration from California, a gigantic budget deficit, the largest homeless population in America, and the poor folks in the Palisades who had their homes burned down. He is here hobnobbing with the global elite while his California citizens are still homeless. Shame on him. He is too smug, too self-absorbed, and too economically illiterate to know anything.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Scott Bessent, just for destroying Gavin Newsom. Look, socialism, communism are being eradicated in the Western Hemisphere. Let's see, Argentina, Malay, in Chile, in Honduras, in Panama. Obviously, Maduro has been extricated out of Venezuela, so that's going to change. Socialism and communism are being eradicated and kicked out of the Western Hemisphere. Time for freedom. Time for freedom all over this hemisphere. God bless Donald Trump for making that possible. I'll take a break and be right back. Good morning. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so if you thought the news cycle was going to slow down today, I'm here to report it will not. In fact, Jack Smith will be on Capitol Hill today for a televised hearing. The former disgraced special counsel will be there to face questions about his 2 prosecutions of President Trump. Why did you pay witnesses? How much did you pay the witnesses? A lot of questions. Jim Jordan of Ohio is going to lead that hearing. He's the chair of the committee. Expect to level allegations that he brought politicized criminal charges against the leading presidential candidate in 2024 for no other reason except to try to destroy Donald Trump's political future and, frankly, the future of this country. Oh, it's going to be entertaining today, I can guarantee it. Democrats will worship Smith, and the Republicans are going to ask him real questions. Smith has long wanted to speak publicly about his work, and Trump, who has said Smith is a thug who belongs in jail. I'd rather see him testify publicly because there's no way he can answer the questions, Trump said. There's no way he can honestly answer the questions. How is he going to dodge? Oh, it's going to be exciting. We'll have complete coverage of that coming up later today on Real America's Voice and elsewhere. So you're going to want to be tuned in for that. Pure entertainment today, I think. We'll see. They paid $20,000 to one source to testify against Trump. Here's 20 grand. Can you come in and say what we need you to say? Yeah. All right. Bloating and discomfort after meals. Enzorb adds digestive enzymes to support your gut health. Enzymes break down what you put in your body effectively so that you have less waste and more pleasant digestive experiences. You want that, don't you? Less bloat, more day. Only from Victory Nutrition International. It's the vitamin company that Ivy and I did research on. The only vitamins we take, only 6 products from this company. It's nutrition that gets in. Try it today, 20% off. VNI.life/Gruber. When you subscribe, you get 20% off and free shipping for life. Get a subscription, 20% off and free delivery for life. That's right. VNI.life/Gruber. Promo code Gruber, of course. We've got a lot more still to cover here today. We'll be talking about the great health care plan proposed by Donald Trump and how it could save you money and get you better care and treatment. How do we fix health care in America? It's coming up in the next hour here on The Steve Gruber Show.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
And here we go, kicking off another brand new hour here on Real America's Voice and MTN Networks. Glad to have you on board, fighting for you. From the foxhole of freedom every single day, we've got to do it. We've got a country to save. That's a fact, my friends. Three big things to get to at this hour. Number one, a university president is on record predicting that 1 in 4 colleges and universities will be closing their doors over the next few years. I honestly don't think that's a bad thing. Number two, as we watch this massive winter storm make its way east, threatening to impact power to millions while leaving them dealing with ice and snow, the predictable cries of climate change being heard, but I'll show you why they're wrong, of course. And number three, President Trump may have walked out of Davos, Switzerland with a deal on Greenland, a concept that has kept people on the left having complete tantrums because they obviously do not understand national security and how important the island is to America and the world for world peace and stability. He got a lot. He got the Board of Peace signed just about an hour ago. But this deal that he's working out with Greenland is incredibly important. It's a blow to China. It's a blow to Russia and their ambitions to be in America's shadow, controlling us. And they say they've reached a deal in principle. Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO, agrees. Here's President Trump about the deal that they say they have reached in principle to take operational control, which is exactly what I told you would happen. Operational control. No military intervention, no attacks by America. We don't need that. We need operational control and security. Here's the president.
Well, we have a concept of a deal. I think it's going to be a very good deal for the United States, also for them. And we're going to work together on something having to do with the Arctic as a whole, but also Greenland. And it has to do with the security, great security, strong security, and other things.
The market, 600 points, getting back a lot of some of the nervousness we had in the last couple of days. The tariffs are off. Nothing happens on February 1st.
No, we took that off because it looks like we have pretty much a concept of a deal.
A deal of ownership, a deal...
Well, it's a little bit complex, but we'll explain it down the line. But the Secretary General of NATO and I and some other people were talking, and it's the kind of a deal that I wanted to be able to make.
Where does Denmark, did they weigh in on what they want, what they would agree to?
Well, I assume they did because he very much represents, he's a strong leader. Mark, you know Mark Rutte. And he, I assume he's been speaking to them. He's been speaking to all of them.
Are mineral rights involved? Is ownership involved? Did the Golden Dome sway people?
I don't want to say yet, but...
The Golden Dome was very compelling today when you talked about that.
Yeah, the Golden Dome, and they're going to be involved in the Golden Dome, and they're going to be involved in mineral rights, and so are we.
It's not specific enough to know at this point how long this lasts, whether it's...
Forever.
Forever.
It'll be forever.
For Greenland at this point.
Yeah. Forever.
That's staggering.
It's better than a 99-year.
This is what, 2 hours after.
It's better than the Obama deal with the famous Iran nuclear deal with a 9-year deal. No, this is forever. This is a long term.
It's forever, not some 99-year lease or some other nonsense where we get the short end of the deal. As I mentioned, the General Secretary of NATO, Mark Rutte, he took time to say this is the deal we need. He understands. He actually has a globe in his office, apparently. He can look and see where Greenland is situated and realize that it's Greenland, it's some northern nations of Europe, it's Russia and Canada. But China wants control there. They want to be operational there. And we're going to say, I don't think so. Here's Rutte.
I'm not popular with you now because I'm defending Donald Trump, but I really believe we can be happy that he is there because he has forced us in Europe to step up, to face the consequences, that we have to take care more of our own defense? And here's my question to the audience. I mean, many of you, I know, criticize Donald Trump. But do you really think that without Donald Trump, 8 big economies in Europe, including Spain and Italy and Belgium, Canada, by the way, also outside Europe, would have come to 2% in 2025 when they were only on 1.5% at the beginning of the year? No way. Without Donald Trump, this would never have happened. They're all on 2% now. Do you really think that in the summit in The Hague, as already Alex was saying, sorry, the president of Finland was saying, that we would come to an overall defense spending of 5%, including 3.5% in core defense, if President Trump would not have been re-elected as president of the United States? No way. It would never have happened. So again, I'm not popular with you now because I'm defending Donald Trump, but I really believe we can be happy that he is there because he has forced us in Europe to step up, to face the consequences, that we have to take care more of our own defense.
Well, there's an ally of the president. Loud, clear, and on point. Mark Rutte, he gets it. Look, there is no NATO without the United States. And without Greenland, there's no Golden Dome. There's no missile defense system. There's no security for Europe or the United States or Canada. And this is all part of the bigger movement globally, I mentioned in the last hour. The move toward freedom in the Western Hemisphere. So many countries getting rid of communism and socialism, rejecting dictators. One of those places, Argentina. And its President Javier Milei says President Trump is saving the world from dictators. Enjoy.
For some time now, and for some strange reason, the West began to turn its back on the ideas of liberty. That is why in this same place in 2024, I stated that the West was in danger as a result of having embraced increasing doses of socialism in its most hypocritical form, which is wokeism. In turn, in 2025, I explained the mental parasites sown by the left in humanity. However, 2026 is the year in which I bring you good news. The world has begun to awaken. The best proof of this is what is happening in the Americas with the rebirth of the ideas of liberty. Therefore, the Americas will be the beacon of light that will once again illuminate the entire West, thereby repaying the civilizational debt with expressions of gratitude towards the foundations in Greek philosophy, Roman law, and Judeo-Christian values. We have a better future ahead, but that better future exists only if we return to the roots of the West, which means returning to the ideas of liberty. May God bless the West, may the forces of heaven be with us, and long live freedom, damn it. Thank you very much.
Long live freedom, damn it. Thank you, Mr. President. Javier Milei. Whether it's Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO, or Javier Milei, they get it. They realize the equation is being pushed by the catalyst for all of this, President Donald Trump. He is the catalyst that has created this chemical reaction, this attraction to freedom, this rejection of dictators and socialism. We're rising, but we have a lot of work to do, make no mistake. Open borders did a tremendous amount of damage. It will take time to fix. But we have people on the job, most notably President Trump. I'll take a break and be right back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Send me an email if you'd like, stevegruber.com. What's on your mind? We'll talk about it after I get back. right, let's jump right back into it. You know, it's not just the world order that Donald Trump is stepping in saying this doesn't work, tear this down, start over. Doing it with NATO, doing it with the EU and other alliances, but he's also doing it here at home. One of the big problems, as you know, is health care. Not really health care in America. We have the best there is if you have access to it. If you don't, it can be demoralizing. It can feel out of reach. It bankrupts people. Terry Wilcox is the co-founder and chief mission officer at Patients Rising, a patient advocacy organization. She joins me now. Terry, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. It's great to be back.
It's like so many things that this president is doing. If it's not working, why continue to push money down a rat hole, basically? It's time to reimagine how we do health care coverage in America. Health care is great in America. People come from all over the world for our health care. The sad fact is, though, it's really expensive for a lot of Americans. It's the leading cause of bankruptcy, and many people simply don't have the access they need. But President Trump's great health care plan, you believe, can help patients now. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, one of the most compelling elements of the Great Health Care Plan is its emphasis on moving resources actually to people, towards patients, away from the middleman, away from an opaque system. And that's, you know, that's what the president's saying. We've tried it your way, folks. We've done that. We've given it to insurers. We've given it to all the entities in the middle. Let's just try it a different way. Let's turn it on its head.
You know, it's remarkable that in 2024, and I'm sure the same was true in 2025, Obamacare, that plan pushed out billions of dollars to the insurance companies. Half the people on those plans never made a claim. And yet the insurance companies get to keep all that taxpayer money, even though they provided no services and paid for no services in return. That's why Donald Trump says health savings accounts are a better plan. I agree. Send the money straight to the American taxpayer. Make sure they go into accounts, approved accounts that have fiduciary so that they're cared for. But why would we continue to enrich the insurance companies? The same's true with Big Pharma. Why do we continue to enrich Big Pharma when oftentimes we get nothing, and I mean zero, in return?
Oh, no, I mean, absolutely. And healthcare shouldn't feel like a maze where patients get lost in the middle. And that's what it feels like now. And we are continuing at this point to enrich insurers and all of that. I mean, we didn't extend the subsidies at the end of the year, which was a good thing, I think, at the end of the day. And look, everyone in the middle is doing okay. And I have to say that a lot of this is by design, right? If something isn't working to this magnitude, right? To this magnitude where patients are getting squeezed, American people are getting squeezed. You know, the average mortgage in this country is $27,900 for the year, and now that's the average health plan too. So your health plan and your mortgage are your two largest items.
Unbelievable. Yeah, that's a shocking figure that American families battle with every month, and that's the problem. Because here's the thing. It wasn't just the insurance companies getting the money directly from the taxpayers. That's part of the problem, no question. But the other thing is this. For people like me who don't go through Obamacare but have insurance premiums for a small company, we have no negotiating power at all. Our rates went up $500, $600 a month to start the year, and our plan was decreased. So we pay more, get less, and in the end, we don't know what anything costs, so things are important. Price transparency. An MRI has to cost what an MRI costs. It can't be priced 100 different places because you have insurance, you have this insurance, you don't have that insurance. Oh, you're paying cash, we'll give you a discount. What does the procedure cost? Period. I mean, a tire costs what a tire costs on the car. You don't get 100 different prices for a tire. Why would you get 100 different prices for an MRI?
No, and actually, if you do get 100 different prices, the money should be given to the patient so they can decide what they're going to pay. Because right now there is no competition, there is no market. We're a free market society. Healthcare is not a free market. There are parts of it that are, but for them, it's not a free market.
Yeah, what do you think about healthcare associations? Another idea put forward, which I think is brilliant. I first heard Rand Paul talk about this months ago. Donald Trump also loves this idea, which is, and Rand Paul used the example of Costco having 44 million members. Let them negotiate healthcare with United Healthcare or Blue Cross Blue Shield or whatever company you're dealing with, because 44 million people have negotiating power. Me and my wife, not so much. it's another important idea, isn't it?
Oh, no, I think it's a great idea because even Patients Rising, we have a very small team. And to your point about your health insurance, you know, not having any negotiating power, we just literally had to go. We have what's called an ICRA. So our staff are put on the Obamacare plans. They get to pick one. So they have a little bit of, you know, leverage with that. We give them a budget and they go and pick one. But it's still you're paying an enormous amount. You don't have negotiating power. You certainly don't have it on the exchanges. And this, I think it's a great idea. I would love to be able to just, you know, be part of an association or be part of something larger that took care of a lot of that, because many people in this country are, you know, independent contractors, or they have
That's
really
right.
small teams of people. That's the workforce of the country, really.
It is. Terry Wilcox, thank you for being here. We have to keep talking about it and keep pushing for better outcomes for patients and their financial well-being. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. Have a good day.
Speaking of wellness, you know that stubborn ache that never quite goes away, the one that ice, heat, and pain pills barely touch? What if you could target it at the cellular level instead of just numbing it? That's exactly where TheraBlue comes in. TheraBlue, a next-generation pain-relieving peptide gel that works deeper than the skin surface, powered by AQA, molecular delivery technology. It delivers peptides and botanicals directly into muscle tissue for legit lasting relief. Its hero ingredient is copper peptide. It promotes collagen synthesis, reduces inflammation, helps accelerate repair. NAD Plus restores cellular energy to aid recovery, while methylene blue protects your mitochondria and supports endurance. Natural extracts like MSM, turmeric, white willow bark, arnica, and ginger soothe inflammation. Menthol, camphor, and eucalyptus also deliver instant cooling relief. Find out more from the wellness company, twc.health/Gruber. twc.health/Gruber. Get 10% off right now. Move freely again with TheraBlue. twc.health/Gruber. And thank them for supporting this program. twc.health/Gruber. We'll be right back. Let me show you something about the magic of climate change. It's magical. It explains everything, no matter what happens. You've heard me say that before. No matter what happens, climate change is your answer. It is truly remarkable. Well, I've got a couple of headlines here from The Guardian newspaper and online, all right? I want to read these to you because this demonstrates what I've been telling you better than I could myself, which is pretty remarkable. Here's headline number one. It comes from April of 2024. Australia should prepare for 20-year mega droughts as the climate crisis worsens, study finds. Australia should prepare for mega droughts that last more than 20 years and will worsen in 2024. From May of 2025, 1 year later, same paper, here's the headline. New South Wales flooding. Prime Minister delivers climate crisis warning as flood-hit region braces for strong winds, and a fifth body has been found. Climate change had contributed to wetter conditions in New South Wales, amplifying the amount of rain. So which is it? Is it mega droughts? Is it mega droughts, no water for 20 years? Or is it flooding because it's wetter? You see, climate change is magical. Magical. Speaking of which, by the way, there's a giant storm coming across the country, as you probably know. It's not climate change. It's January. This storm, however, is vicious. The predictions are for 2 feet of snow in Little Rock, Arkansas. 2 feet. A foot of snow in Nashville. Other places could see 2 feet of snow, including the nation's capital. They keep changing, and they're not quite sure. The bigger concern is ice. Everywhere from Texas to the eastern seaboard. Heavy snow and ice. The ice could be the real crippler. Ice brings down power lines, bring down trees. Be prepared, my friends. This is a real deal storm. It doesn't matter whether it's climate change or just January. Either way, if you're in harm's way, please prepare. We're going to keep a close eye on this storm over the next 4 days. It runs all the way through the weekend. It's going to wreak havoc. Keep an eye on it. And if you're in Little Rock, send me an email. I'd like to know what you think about 2 feet of snow in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'll be right back. Well, some big news out of Davos, to say the least. The Board of Peace has been put together. It was quite an event. Happened early this morning. We watched Donald Trump sign that along with several world leaders just before 6 a.m. Eastern time this morning. We took it live here. It was remarkable. Also, the president says he has a deal in place in principle on Greenland, which is also a remarkable step forward. Of course, Greenland has been in the headlines for weeks now because President Trump says in order to defend America and NATO, The United States must have operational control. I believe he will get it. That doesn't mean, and he said there will not be a military action against Greenland. That's silly, basically. But we have to have operational control because he says quite clearly, Denmark, the EU, NATO, they can't defend Greenland. That's why we always have. Joining me now is Casey Fleming, an internationally recognized keynote speaker and author on national security, intelligence, and strategic risk. Casey, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Obviously, this is a big, critical part of Donald Trump's national security, a return to the Monroe Doctrine. And he pointed out quite clearly that Denmark fell without a fight to the Nazis in World War II. That's why we had the Greenland Protection Pact, the Defense Pact that was put in place then. We've always defended Greenland. We've always defended North America. And the Chinese and the Russians want in. But you think this could fracture some alliances. And I would say, what's worse, a fractured alliance or having Russia and China dominate in the North Atlantic? Your thoughts?
Having Russia and China dominate in the North Atlantic by far. Fractured alliances will fix themselves over time. But this is a fight to the finish right now. Most people don't see it, but it's really Greenland will either be the United States and the free world, or it will be China and Russia with totalitarian communism.
Absolutely. You see, Americans, I believe, Casey, Americans look at war as binary. We're either at war or we're not. The Chinese don't have that problem. They've been at war with the United States for decades. Most Americans just don't realize it. They're undermining us in colleges and universities with high tech, building a blue water navy, targeting Taiwan, pushing into places like Venezuela, where they just got kicked out for all intents and purposes, but also pushing into the North Atlantic, into Greenland. It's not a binary question. China has had us in its sights for decades, right or wrong?
Completely right. The issue is China has redefined war, that Americans only think it's battleships, troops, and planes, and the rest of the free world thinks it's binary, and it's not. They've redefined war to be unrestricted war, and the people, the citizens, are on the front lines of that war. You've heard of COVID, you've heard of fentanyl, you've heard of TikTok and social media, and it goes on and on and on. It's a strategic plan.
Yeah, now let me get your reaction. The president came out, we saw just a few hours ago, said they have a deal in principle for what's going to happen with Greenland. He would not share the details. Would it mean more military bases? Would it mean mining and the use of the natural resources there? He didn't provide details. But what do you get out of this? If you glean it a little bit, sir, what do you decide? What do you come up with?
Well, cautiously optimistic that at least the discussions are going in the right direction, but hopefully it'll be something like Guantanamo Bay. It'll be a 99-year lease, and we can be primary on the land. But we don't know what it's going to be when it's. Well,
the president just said, he just said specifically, no 99-year lease. This will be forever. What they're putting together, he says, will be forever. So cautiously, he said no 99-year lease, specifically said that. Look, for anybody who doesn't have a globe and doesn't understand this, which apparently includes most members of the Democrat Party in Washington these days, they don't seem to understand that this is an unsinkable aircraft carrier in the North Atlantic. It's big. It sits in a critical spot where, look, I don't trust Denmark to protect the United States of America or any other army in Europe for that matter. In fact, I would say NATO has become obsolete in many ways. Is there even a credible military in Europe? Maybe France, but after that, not Germany, not the UK, certainly not Denmark. I mean, collectively, could they defend themselves? It doesn't appear that way. Why would we think they could defend us?
That's exactly right. They can't get their own act together right now. They're all fragmented. And certainly they could never protect the United States when chips hit the table.
Yeah. What would you like to see in Greenland? As you see this go forward, if let's say for the sake of argument, Trump does have this deal in place, and I have no reason to believe he doesn't, people say, oh, every time they mock him or say that's not going to happen, he turns around and gets things done. He got a peace plan in Gaza. He got this Council of Peace, this Board of Peace, I guess it is, put together. And he says he has a deal on Greenland. I believe him because Donald Trump tends to be straight up and straightforward. What would you like to see as far as operational control for the United States? More bases, more military, more security, what?
Yes, more bases, all that, offensive, defensive, all that in Greenland. But really, I'd like to see it as a United States protectorate, just like Puerto Rico. That's where I'd like to see it because it's so critical to the North Atlantic and the protection of North America as well as Europe.
I think that's most likely, actually, sir. I think that you'll see a situation where the Greenland Defense Pact becomes permanent. The United States basically takes it under its wing and says, this is our little brother, this is our friend, and we're going to set up shop there. China, you're not welcome. Russia, you're not welcome. Iran, Cuba, any of the other bad actors on the planet, North Korea, you're not welcome here. And I don't think the Greenlanders want those folks there anyway. But my concern is, here's you've got Mark Carney in Canada making a deal with China. He is useless as far as world leadership goes. You've got other members of the EU cozying up to China because they have no other way to get things done because they're useless. To me, is NATO even relevant anymore? I mean, it's a question that I've been meaning to ask somebody that knew. Is it even relevant to our protection?
It's not relevant anymore. It needs to be reset. It needs to be recast with new documents, new commitments, and updated. Just like we need a Bill of Rights for our electronics, an electronic Bill of Rights. Same thing, it needs to be updated. Same with NATO.
What do you mean by the electronic Bill of Rights? What do you mean by that?
Well, our Bill of Rights was, created 234 years ago. It could never possibly think or imagine technology, AI, all that kind of stuff. So we need an electronic Bill of Rights for the American people to protect our rights, our data, our privacy, and our rights, because no one, I assure you, is doing that.
Yeah, privacy does not exist in 2026. I mean, when people can find your name, your number, they can decide what kind of pants you buy. They know what you buy on Amazon, what's delivered to your doorstep. There is no privacy. It's sad but true. And that is another part of the Chinese plan, the social credit score, something else we want nothing to do with. I'll give you the last word.
Well, exactly. The New World Order is based on totalitarianism, based on communism. There's two types of models. There's the free market, and there's the communist entity. So we're in the fight of our lives. We are in World War III today, as you mentioned in the early part of this segment. You're in World War III. It's focused on the individual. They are on the front lines, and the last phase of World War III would be conventional war. But the CCP and China want to win the war without firing a shot. That's what's at stake. Your family's freedom and your freedom is at stake.
And the future of this country. Mr. Fleming, greatly appreciated. Casey Fleming, everybody. You come back anytime. I like smart people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. We'll take a break. We're going to talk about your good health when we come back. How can you be healthier? Have you forgotten your New Year's resolutions already? I hope not. But if you have, we're going to get you back on track right after this. All right, this is the point in January, about 3 weeks in, where everybody's New Year's resolutions just kind of go out the window. And I don't want to see that happen. I want you to be on track to a healthier 2026. And if you want to lose weight, you want to be unafraid to look in the mirror, my next guest can put you on the path to be there. Missy Malone from My Pure Health Solutions is joining me. Missy, good morning and welcome to it.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Steve.
It's this point where people just kind of short circuit on their New Year's resolutions. Well, I wanted to lose weight and I wanted to go to the gym, but I didn't, and they kind of wear out by this time of the month. But if you can get your frequency right, if you can get your body tuned in right, Missy, this is what you have preached here with me since 2018. I did it back in 2018. I did your program, worked great. And you say it's about your body's frequency because my body is different than yours.
Correct. That human body of ours has a unique system that runs the metabolism. And in order to really lose weight and to burn stored fat, you have to turn the signals back on inside your body with a designed plan made for you.
Exactly right. This goes back, when I hear you talk about these things, I always think about Nikola Tesla. He said, everything is a frequency. The earth, the universe, and your body is no different. There's a frequency for your body that is unique. It's like a fingerprint, like DNA, that makes you different. And that's what you guys discover at My Pure Health. You find that unique DNA for health and help people lose weight.
Absolutely. Thanks to Nikola Tesla right there. He had it. He was so far ahead of the curve, and he knew, well, we have 36 trillion cells inside this body of ours. Every single cell has a frequency, and if the signals are off, there are 2,800. We do a body scan in the body. That's how we are able to do this for all these years. We have to really reboot your own body with a designed, tailored plan for yourself.
Yeah, and with the high-tech world, you don't have to be in, you used to have to go to your office, but now because of the way technology works, it advances every day. You can scan somebody in New Mexico or Nevada or New Hampshire, right? You can go anywhere. You can just send them the machine and they can scan anywhere in America.
Oh, Steve, your listeners are all over America. So yes, you're right. We are taking care of people, every single state of the United States so far. Because of you, we're touching lives. And that's what we do. What people just don't understand is that they've been stuck in the paradigm of it's calories in, calories out, do this, do that, shots, pills, shakes, prepackaged food. It doesn't fix the problem, and you have to go to the root, and that's what we do. We customize a protocol, and we have health coaches. You have a health coach, you follow 4 simple rules, and the average client, the average woman will lose 20 to 25 pounds in 40 days because we are turning on, we're taking jumper cables to the metabolism naturally.
And I read another horror story yesterday, and this is so common today because weight loss is a multi-billion-dollar industry, but people taking GLP-1s. And I get it. They're selling hope. Oh, if you just take this shot. But people that come off from GLP-1, same thing. The weight comes back, usually more. Not to mention the people that are not feeling well, have to go in and out of the bathroom every 5 minutes. A lot of horror stories out there. Your program, there are no shots. You're eating real food. And like you said, not replacement shakes. You're not eating drywall for lunch. Thank God, right? I mean, it's real food. You go to the grocery store and get what you're supposed to get. Because for me, I figured out rice doesn't work for me very well. For whatever reason, I love rice. But if I eat rice, I'm going to gain weight. It's like, it's an automatic. It's weird, but it's true. And you proved that to me.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is, once we help you lose the weight, then we're going to take you through our reset strategy. So that way you do learn what foods cause you to gain weight back. And we give you the strategy and know how to eat it. So that way you can have the best of both worlds. Keep your waistline and eat those foods with a little bit of strategy after we get you to lose the weight. But what I like right here, if Tesla were alive today, I played around with this. I'm like, what would he say in that famous quote of his? But he's basically saying, you don't go fix the Wi-Fi by yelling at the router. You need to restore the signal. Just like your last person talking, we need to reset. We need to reset the signals, reboot your body with a designed plan that is made for you because you're unique. You've got a unique problem going on the inside of the body. You're right, that multi-billion-dollar industry, the weight loss industry, they're conning you all into buying a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
Not going to work.
Not going to work. You know, here I am yelling at my computer. Ivy comes out, can I fix it for you? I mean, that's what I think about when you say, yell at the computer, that's not going to fix the problem. Yell at the mirror. Yelling at the mirror is not going to help you to lose weight, but getting your frequency dialed in. And look, every one of these plans is custom. Everything you do, no matter who the client is, whether they're in California or Connecticut or all points in between, doesn't matter. It's a custom plan. It worked for me, folks. Believe it or not, I lost 47 pounds. And I did a 60-day program, 47 pounds in 2018. Have never gone back. And that's my testimonial.
Yeah, these are all your listeners. I mean, these results take place in less than 3 months. And then we show you how to keep it off for good. Some of these results take place in 50 days, 2 months. I say 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you eat real food. You take customized formulas designed for your body, and you let the body reboot and come back online. Simple enough as it is,
Right.
but you need a designed, tailored plan if you truly want to fix the metabolism and get off medications you might have been on. That guy right there, he's one of your biggest fans. He got off a sleep apnea machine in less than 40 days with me. He'd already had 3 surgeries to try to get rid of his sleep apnea problem. Didn't work.
So here's what we're talking about. Go back to the factory presets for your body. Get it set again. Go back to the factory presets. Get it set up right. And here's how you can find out more. GruberHealth.com. GruberHealth.com. You can get a free consultation with my good friend Missy. And we have become friends since 2018. She helped me lose weight. She showed me a different path forward. She can do the same for you. So don't give up on 2026. Don't give up on feeling better, getting rid of blood pressure medicine, getting off GLP-1, getting off sleep apnea machines, whatever it may be. Missy, you've changed lives, and I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's not about willpower, people. It's not about willpower. It's about rebooting your signals. It's not your fault you can't lose weight. We're going to show you why.
We'll show you why. Trust me, they showed me again. Thank you. Thank you, Missy. Greatly appreciate it.
God bless.
The website to go check out, and you see some really cool pictures of me, GruberHealth.com. GruberHealth.com. You'll save some money as well. Get a free consultation. I'll be right back. All right, real quick sports with Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. There were 7 games in the NBA last night. Winners included New York, Boston, Atlanta, and Oklahoma City. In men's college basketball, number 1 Arizona, number 7 Nebraska, and number 8 Gonzaga all won. In women's basketball, number 3 UCLA and number 14 Baylor won, but 19th ranked Texas Tech was upset by BYU 73-61. In the NHL, there were 6 games last night. Winners included Detroit, Pittsburgh, Seattle, and Vancouver. In Major League Baseball, the New York Mets acquired starting pitcher Freddie Peralta from the Milwaukee Brewers as part of a 4-player trade. Peralta went 17-6 with the Brewers this past season. And at the Australian Open in Melbourne, second-round action continued. Jannik Sinner and Novak Djokovic both won on the men's side. For the women, Iga Swiatek and American Amanda Anisimova both advanced to round 3. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
Brock, thank you so much for that. All right, if you missed it earlier this week, my cat made a surprise appearance here on the program. Just one of those mornings. Came up here doing figure eights. Little Kitty. That's how clever we are. That's the name. People keep asking, what's your cat's name? What's your cat's name is Little Kitty. Made an appearance here. And it's the luckiest animal in the world. That cat was a street cat that was brought back home by one of my children. And, hey, I got a cat. I'm like, no. And he hung around, and, well, you know the rest of the story, how that goes. Moms and dads, they get the big eyes, but okay, fine, the cat can stay in. The cat has become a fan favorite around here.
And Steve's looking at another cat.
I'm not.
Another cat.
I'm not looking at another cat, Anthony. Thank you very much for that. Anyhow, a great way to watch the program if you're ever away from anything is YouTube, by the way. You can see right there, YouTube. How do I do this? There it is. You click the QR code. You can follow us every day. Go back and get the great interviews. Go back and see Little Kitty invading my space here on the program. We encourage you to follow. Encourage you to be a subscriber to all of these platforms. Our social media is on fire, folks, whether it's X or Instagram or Facebook. I know some of you guys don't like Meta, but look, in order to win this country back, in order to put America first, sometimes you have to play road games, including Facebook. But right there, click that QR code for YouTube. You'll be glad you did. Live feeds every day, plus the entire library of all the programs. We've got a lot more to come in the next hour. We'll be back with national energy priorities and more right here on The Steve Gruber Show.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
Time to kick another hour straight in the backside. Let's do this together, shall we? Yes, glad to have you on board, fighting for you for the foxhole of freedom, a foxhole that could soon be filled by snow and ice in many places. We'll talk about that coming up. But here are the three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, Donald Trump and world leaders signed the Gaza Board of Peace Charter. The Board of Peace, they hope to replace the United Nations, and good for them. Number two, Jack Smith, the disgraced former special counsel on Capitol Hill today. Boy, is he going to face a grilling about why he paid witnesses, why he tried to prosecute Donald Trump not once but twice. We'll get into all of that. And number three, speaking of that, the House Oversight Committee, we'll start in Congress there. The House Oversight Committee has come up with a bipartisan effort. And they voted yesterday to hold both Bill and Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress. It's a step on the way to actual charges. The Clintons never intended to appear in front of Congress, not once. They pushed off the date, pushed off the date, pushed off the date, and then didn't show up. The question is, will they be held accountable like Steve Bannon or Peter Navarro? The answer is probably not. Probably not. They'll not be held to account. They will ignore the subpoenas. They will ignore answering tough questions. All they had to do was appear and say, hey, I plead the fifth. But you know how that would have looked. This all comes back to Epstein. Where are the Democrats about Epstein? Remember all this huffing and puffing and stomping and screaming about Epstein and Trump's a pedophile and all of that nonsense? Why don't they have the same demands for Bill Clinton? Some do. Ro Khanna did. Far-left Democrat from California. He's one of the folks that voted to hold them in contempt. I mean, if you're really concerned about human trafficking and the abuse of young women, and you know, and we do, that Bill Clinton went to Epstein's infamous island, 27 times? His picture adorned the wall of Epstein's mansion in Manhattan. That infamous picture of Bill Clinton sitting in a chair with a blue dress on, which was nothing more than Epstein saying, I've got the goods on you, pal. I've got you. And yet, those on the left don't care, it seems, that Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are ignoring all questions about Jeffrey Epstein and their relationship to him. Yeah, and their proclivities. We don't get to ask about that, at least not yet. We'll see how that plays out, but I wouldn't expect much. But I would say this. The House Oversight Committee did vote to hold both in contempt of Congress. Here's that vote, so you have it on the record.
On the Hillary R. Clinton contempt report.
And you see some of those lighting up green on the Democrat side. Several, in fact. All the Republicans voting in contempt.
Have all members been recorded who wish to be recorded? Does any member wish to change their vote?
They did not, and there you go. Thank you,
Seeing none, the
Mr.
clerk will
Chairman.
close the vote.
It's either justice for all, equal justice, not two-tiered, three-tiered, four-tiered sets of justice in America. It's one. We're either a nation of laws or a nation of men. What are we? I'd like us to be a nation of laws. Hope you would as well. Meanwhile, from Davos, big happenings. The Board of Peace in place. Praise for President Trump from Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO. Praise for President Trump from President Milei of Argentina and others. The naysayers like Ursula von der Leyen, an unelected globalist, they can make all the complaints they want, doesn't matter. Just look at what's happening in the Western Hemisphere. Argentina, Panama, Chile, Honduras, all rejecting socialism, throwing out the socialists from power altogether. The Western Hemisphere is returning to liberty and freedom and justice for all. No question. And on the other big headline, Greenland. The president says he has reached a deal in principle. Very important. I think I'm going to get on Zillow and maybe see if I can find an oceanside cabin. I mean, Atlantic salmon in Greenland sounds like a nice place to be for their summer that lasts like 27 minutes. Yeah, it'd be great. Anyhow, here's the president on the deal with Greenland.
Well, we have a concept of a deal. I think it's going to be a very good deal for the United States, also for them. And we're going to work together on something having to do with the Arctic as a whole, but also Greenland. And it has to do with the security, great security, strong security, and other things.
The market, 600 points, getting back a lot of some of the nervousness we had in the last couple of days. The tariffs are off. Nothing happens on February 1st.
No, we took that off because it looks like we have pretty much a concept of a deal.
A deal of ownership, a deal...
Well, it's a little bit complex, but we'll explain it down the line. But the Secretary General of NATO and I and some other people were talking, and it's the kind of a deal that I wanted to be able to make.
Where does Denmark, did they weigh in on what they want, what they would agree to?
Well, I assume they did because he very much represents, he's a strong leader. Mark, you know Mark Rutte. And he... I assume he's been speaking to them. He's been speaking to all of them.
Are mineral rights involved? Is ownership involved? Did the Golden Dome sway people?
I don't want to say yet, but...
The Golden Dome was very compelling today when you talked about that.
Yeah, the Golden Dome, and they're going to be involved in the Golden Dome, and they're going to be involved in mineral rights, and so are we.
It's not specific enough to know at this point how long this lasts, whether it's...
Forever.
Forever.
It'll be forever.
For Greenland at this point.
Yeah. Forever.
That's staggering.
That's better than a 99-year.
This is what, 2 hours after.
It's better than the Obama deal with the famous Iran nuclear deal with a 9-year deal. No, this is forever. This is a long term.
Forever, not some 99-year lease. Well done, Mr. President. That's in the best interest of this country going forward. No question about it. A 99-year lease would have been meaningless. It would have turned out like the Panama Canal, a disastrous decision by Jimmy Carter back in the day, that's for sure. So this is all very important. And so he comes out of Davos with people like Ursula von der Leyen saying we need a new world order. Well, you got one. You got one, just not what you were expecting. It's Trump's new world order. Is there anybody in memory that's had an impact on the global stage like Donald Trump in the first year of his second term? I don't believe so. I don't believe you could find somebody who's done so much in 1 year than Donald Trump. Now, you don't have to like the guy. You don't have to like him at all. But the policies are working. We could see growth next year, according to Scott Bessent, of 7 or 8% GDP. Mind-blowing. Honestly, mind-blowing. I will take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Joining me will be Chuck Marshall to talk about energy priorities in this country. Energy. It powers America. We'll be right back. All right, so during the Christmas break, I lost power here at my house 4 times. We lose power a lot, and that is just an indication of the problems we face as far as the grid in Michigan. It's not unique to Michigan, by the way. Happens all over the country. We have an outdated grid in too many places that needs to be upgraded. My next guest is spearheading that. Chuck Marshall is the ITC Michigan president. Chuck, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you having me.
You've got 3 giant projects from what I can see on your website. By the way, you can find it at mifuturegrid.com for anybody interested in what's happening with the grid in Michigan. You've got the Oneida Sabine line. That's about 50 miles between, runs south of Lansing, east and west. You got the Helix substation that runs from Eaton County all the way into Indiana. And then you've got the Nelson Road Oneida that runs from Eaton County to Gratiot County. These are all big power lines and grid reimagining, I guess. Tell us what you're doing and tell us about these 3 big projects.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. So, yes, we have a lot going on within ITC these days. Just a little context, ITC owns the grid. We don't own generation, and we are not your local distribution utility. We've been operating.
Let me jump in there. When you say you own the grid 100% across Michigan, the transmission lines, that sort of thing?
Yeah, we own the high voltage electric transmission system here in Michigan's Lower Peninsula. We are not the only transmission owner, but I would say rough numbers, we own approximately 90% of the grid here.
So you're obviously critical to the lights being on here today.
Yes, sir, every day. And so we acquired the grid. So 2 decades ago, actually, DTE Consumers kind of spun their grids off. ITC acquired the transmission system. And since that time, we have been actively making prudent investments in the grid. And so we took the grid 2 decades ago, regularly performing in the 3rd quartile to our grid today here in the state of Michigan. 1st quartile, often the top 10% of all grids across North America. So from a grid perspective, we have taken significant steps forward. However, what happens is eventually you get to this inflection point where we, on a day-to-day basis, what we're doing is we're kind of in the middle, right? Where there's an equation. On one side, there's customers, there's load. On the other side, there's generation. And we need to make sure that we're holding that in perfect harmony every minute, every second of the day. And we've improved the system, and you get to a point where you need more steel in the air, in essence. And so there was a concept that was born out of roughly 2018, 19 timeframe, where what we want to do is we want to build the grid out in a proactive manner. Unfortunately, much of what we do is more reactionary. It's not proactive. But with everything changing in our space, it was the right time to build future infrastructure for today and for the future. And so that's exactly what happened is we started to assemble this portfolio of projects. We were partnering with the Mid-Continent ISO, which is MISO, and neighboring transmission owners to build out backbone regional infrastructure to improve the reliability and the resiliency of the grid. So you alluded to 3 projects. Actually, there's more than 3 projects. Right now on our website, we've highlighted those 3 projects. But there was a group of projects, actually 2 projects, that were approved in the summer of 22, Helix Hypo and Nelson Road Oneida. And then on the heels of that, December of 24, there were 3 additional projects that were approved.
Let me jump in there. Let me jump in there,
Yeah.
Chuck, because what I have seen over the last 10 or 20 years is when a company like yours tries to do the right thing, upgrade the grid, which clearly it needs. A lot of it's outdated, correct? We can all accept that. When I'm without power 4 times, there's something wrong, generally speaking, because I'm not the only one, obviously. But there's always a lot of pushback these days. Oh, I don't want a power line near my house. I don't want a pipeline. I don't want anything. What kind of challenges do you face when you're doing the right thing for Michigan's future from those that would say, well, we can't put this high power line over Eaton County or wherever it might be? And that's got to be a challenge.
It is, right? It's more challenging than it ever was. So we're looking to build over 400 miles of greenfield, so new transmission in new communities, areas where we don't have the infrastructure today. And people don't like it, right? They don't like, many people don't like change. And also there's a fear of the unknown. Like, why are you doing this? How is this benefiting me? And so much of what we need to do and what we're trying to do is communicate and work with our local communities so they can understand the value of the infrastructure, why we're doing this, educate them, actually put the right fact pattern out there, because there's a lot of mistruths out there, right?
Oh,
There's a lot of
sure.
other infrastructure that's being developed. You know,
Yeah.
people are having conversations around wind and solar and data centers, and it's, oh, you're only building this infrastructure because this other infrastructure is showing up. And the fact of the matter is, that's not true. Like our plan, as I said, started back in 1819, which predates much of all of this. We're building our infrastructure for the reliability, the resilience, and the affordability of the grid. A couple of things that are going to happen with these projects
Real
is we're going
quick.
to have a stronger connection to our neighboring states, and so we have greater access to a competitive wholesale market. So what's missed in some of these projects regularly is these projects, these 5 projects that I alluded to, over a 20-year horizon. The way that we've modeled these is they actually pay for themselves. They actually, in some instances, more than double pay for themselves. So this is the right type of infrastructure. You talk about losing your power. You go back to the spring of last year, the northern Michigan ice storm, right? We live in Michigan. We have, extreme weather, call it whatever you want. Like,
Chuck, here's
bad
what I want
things
to do. Chuck,
happen.
hold 1 second there. We've got to hit a commercial
Yeah.
here, but I've got about 2 minutes on the other side because I want to wrap this up. This is important. We have to educate people that get their news from TikTok, all right? We have to actually bring facts to the table and say, this hysteria, this is not true. And I mean, look, we've had trouble with utilities in this state for a number of years, so I understand the skepticism, but I want to wrap it up after the break. Hold right there, please. We'll be right back with Chuck Marshall after this. All right, jumping right back in with Chuck Marshall, ITC Michigan president. They are the ones that control 90% of the grid and the distribution of electricity in the lower peninsula of Michigan. Chuck, you said in the break here when we were talking, a lot of BS out there. A lot of people getting information that's false and taking and amplifying false information, and you need to set the record straight. We'll have you back for more time, but give me the bottom line. Give me the last word.
Yeah, so the last word on this infrastructure is needed for the state, for the future of the state, the growth, the reliability, truly to keep the lights on, the extreme weather. I was referencing the northern Michigan ice storm and what that demonstrated to ITC. So we were out for about 2 days. I know certain customers were out for weeks actually. The renewed infrastructure weathered the storm well. And so this is the type of infrastructure. I'm going to be actually at the policy conference up in Traverse City here this weekend. And we're getting cold weather, right? We have cold weather. We have extreme weather. We have needs. We need reliability. We need security in our grid. And this is the infrastructure that delivers that. It's not for said solar farm. It's not for said wind farm. It's not for said data center. It's for the
all of
greater
it.
benefit of the grid here in Michigan.
It's for all of it. Here's the question I'm going to ask you the next time you come back, because it's one that always occurs to me. I don't have time for it now because you've got a tremendous amount of information to share. My question for next time is, why don't we bury the lines? so that we don't have these problems? No answer today. I know it's expensive, but in the long run, wouldn't it save us money? Chuck Marshall, ITC, many projects, 400 miles to upgrade the grid, and that's just in the near term. In the long term, it's much more than that. Chuck, I really appreciate you coming. I want to have you back for a longer segment and a longer discussion because this is not just important for Michigan, it's important for the country. Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
Really appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Steve.
Thank you. The more you know, the more you can understand and have conversations. But when you're arguing with people that do honestly get their news from TikTok, it's a bit challenging to say the least. Well, I saw it on Facebook. It must be true. I saw it on Facebook. Well, if you saw it on my Facebook page, it would be true. But other than that, I wouldn't trust anybody out there. Still to come, Congressman Jimmy Petronas from Florida and Congressman John James, who's running for governor. They're both coming up on the Steve Gruber Show. All right, back to it now. We're going to jump right in with Jimmy Petronas. He is the member of Congress representing Florida 1. Congressman, thank you for being here.
I love that lead-in music. I got a little job going on.
Let them dance, Jimmy. Let them dance.
That's right. Thanks for having me.
Overall, I just saw all the success coming out of Davos and the president's speech about the Peace Commission and what they're doing there. with a deal in place in principle for Greenland and so forth. And across the board, by and large, we saw the Secretary of State there speaking, Marco Rubio. By and large, people really like the cabinet around Donald Trump, but they don't like one of your own, Pam Bondi, very much. They seem to be angry at her a lot, but you are applauding her because she's taking swift action to investigate this invasion of a church in Minneapolis over the weekend, which was completely out of line. And by the way, completely illegal, led by Don Lemon, the disgraced former CNN anchor, and others. You're pretty pleased with her action on this. Tell me about it.
So, look, I used to have a 300 man, woman law enforcement agency when I was the CFO of the state of Florida. When you do an investigation, look, there's definitely videos out there that are very powerful, okay? But you've got to get to the bottom of those investigations and make sure there's you can't immediately throw somebody behind bars just because of a video. So Pam's got to do her due diligence. I think everybody would love to see quicker, swifter action of people behind bars, because we get so, to your point earlier on your segment, we see stuff on social media, it gets us spun up. But Pam is a rule of law follower. She's going to make sure when that prosecution takes place that somebody's not going to get away. She was a prosecutor in Hillsborough County for a number of years before she was our own attorney general. So look, she is going to be thorough because she doesn't want to lose a case.
Right,
and
that makes
losing
sense.
a case means somebody walks away, and she is not going to allow that to take place. So, I see arrests taking place. There's a number of particular charges that can be dropped. As I told some folks yesterday, man, the simplest one, just arrest them for trespassing. You just get something out there.
You
we
nailed
do
it right there. Because they're saying, well, we have a First Amendment right not to invade private property and disrupt a church service, because you know what they have? A First Amendment right to worship the way they see fit and without interference. So that's kind of, but you mentioned all these people being arrested. I have this list that I've put on my desk. These are all the Republicans that were arrested and prosecuted during the Biden administration. Names like Donald Trump, Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows, Sidney Powell, Jenna Ellis, Christina Bobb, Tina Peters, and others. And here at the bottom is the list of people arrested and prosecuted under the Trump administration. Nobody. And that's why there's a frustration with Pam Bondi, and I appreciate that she's going to do an investigation here. But people are chomping at the bit for results, aren't they?
And they are. And look, I appreciate how the president wants to right the ship. His first administration, I think there was a number of folks he could have gone to, that he could have arrested, that he could have pursued charges with. But it was kind of like looking at the past of how previous administrations conducted themselves. I think he learned this time that he saw what they did to him under the Otto Penn administration, that they were going to do everything they humanly possibly could to weaponize the court system. Letitia James and all those crackpots in New York were going to politically pursue him. And I think part of it is, look, we're going to go after these people who weaponize the courts, that have broken the laws, that have manipulated and lied on mortgage forms, not for their primary residence. And I'm glad they're going after them on whatever charge they can find where they broke the law, because nobody is above the law.
Lisa Cook is, apparently, according to the Supreme Court. The question was not whether or not he could fire her. The question should have been, how do you have three primary residents when you're getting more mortgages? It's called mortgage fraud, speaking of violations. Let me ask you about something else happening on Capitol Hill today, and that is Jack Smith is going to be out there. Speaking of people that were rogue prosecutors, as far as I'm concerned, he's a disgraced former special prosecutor. He charged and went after Donald Trump not once but twice. He's going to be answering questions live on TV today. What do you expect?
Well, I appreciate that. This is the things we've got to do to show that if the Republicans are going to be in charge, we're going to make sure that there's not going to be a weaponization of the politics or federal agencies. And we've got to be clear and transparent. So, unfortunately, we've got a single vote majority in the House of Representatives. So as much as I hope we go through and create some meaningful findings from this investigation, whatever we might do in the powers of Congress, we may have our hands tied, because we lost Congressman LaMaffa. He died about 2 weeks ago. We're just losing bodies in order to be able to hold things together when it comes to critical votes. It's unfortunate.
I saw somebody I saw somebody say one bad outbreak of flu and you're completely handicapped. I mean, that's the
That's
fact,
right.
right?
That's right. And the flu is settled in the chamber. You had Derek Van Orden, who his wife had gotten very sick. He had to take a few days off to go take care of her. I mean, these are people that have families, that have real lives, and sometimes there are challenges that are posed to them that you've got to put family first. And unfortunately, thank goodness Derek is back. But prayers for Doug's family. He was a good man. But we got a special election that won't be into August, so we won't have that vote to count on to get things across the finish line.
Yeah, let me ask you one more thing. I'm going to shift gears for the last couple of minutes here.
Okay.
In Davos this week, Scott Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury, said we could see growth in America of 7 or 8%. If you think 5.4% is good, we could see 7 or 8%. You see energy prices coming down. You see the price of groceries stabilizing. You see inflation below 3%. A lot of people think that 2026 is going to be great guns for the economy, and if it is, you might actually hold on to that slight majority or maybe add a seat or two in the House in the midterms. What are your thoughts?
So Daddy always said, if you want to get somebody's attention, you get in their pocketbook. And so this is exactly what the One Big Beautiful Bill did. This is exactly what the president is doing through his leadership and how he is bringing back our dependence on fuels that we can control. So ultimately, the other day I gassed up at $2.21 a gallon. There's prices around the nation that are under $2. But for that business model to trickle down to everyday groceries, it doesn't happen overnight. So I feel very good that we're starting down that path. The economy is only going to get better and better every single day. And just reflect back a little bit to what it was like in January of 2020. It was the most radioactive, white hot economy we've ever seen in the United States. Things were cheap, times were good, homes were affordable. The 4 years of the Biden administration were devastating to the American household.
Certainly was. Congressman, I really appreciate you being here. These are all important topics and things we need to keep an eye on, so thank you for your time.
I appreciate it. And you're right. Whatever you put on Facebook is the God's truth. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir. There's the endorsement, folks. Follow me on social media. You got it. The congressman, he's not wrong. If it's on Facebook, we vet it, we put it out there, and we get pretty good response to that. So follow us on social media. If you want to send me an email, go to stevegruber.com. Tell me what's on your mind, wherever you may be. If you got a big story, send that along, too. We'll investigate it. My team at Michigan News Source will take a look at that for you. It's all available, all right? Good stuff. All right, coming up, John James, who represents Congress from Michigan and also running for governor of Michigan. He'll be joining me next here on the program. All right, back to it now. Midterms are upon us, really are, as we were talking about that with Congressman Petronas of Florida 1. That is, by the way, if you're wondering, that would be Matt Gaetz' former district that was taken over by Jimmy Petronas when Matt Gaetz resigned under the auspices of becoming Attorney General, which, of course, didn't happen and never was going to happen, in my opinion. But there you go. Now, coming up, John James will be sitting down with me, and I wanted to flag some new polling numbers for John James because he represents Michigan 10 currently, but he's running for governor in Michigan, and the brand new polling, because it's a three-way race, it certainly gives him an advantage. Numbers show him well ahead of the field to be the Republican nominee to be the governor of the state of Michigan. Okay, so as far as the field of Republicans go, he is the clear front runner. And then polling came out in a three-way race with Jocelyn Benson, John James, and Mike Duggan. James is ahead with 34% of the vote. Benson in second place, 32%, and Mike Duggan third place with 26%. Mike Duggan, of course, the mayor of Detroit, and he's very well thought of down there. And he's raising a ton of money, according to my sources. He's raising a ton of money down there from both Republicans and Democrats. Look, they realize he did good things for them. Now, I don't know how the general election will shake out or how the funding will go from these big donors, but right now he's collecting a tremendous amount of money. I mean, you can't drive down a highway in Michigan without seeing a Mike Duggan sign along the highway. So he's doing his level best. He's been on this program. He'll be back. Jocelyn Benson, we invite. We don't hear a thing. She's welcome to come here as well. She has some baggage, obviously, with things going on in Michigan, not cleaning up the voter rolls and other challenges. And, of course, these questionable activities with Attorney General Dana Nessel, where she apparently made charges disappear against Dana Nessel's wife and a friend of Dana Nessel's as well. But John James right now can consolidate the Republicans, it looks like. And going into a general election, you're going to have a baseline of Republicans at about 42%, I believe. And if that's true, John James should cruise to winning the governor's job in Michigan. And if he doesn't consolidate those numbers, well, then something else could happen. But Mike Duggan being in the race as an independent certainly makes it a wild and interesting race for governor in Michigan. Where do you come down on it? I mean, people in Southeast Michigan, like I said, like Mike Duggan. They do. I think he's done good things for Detroit. And I like going to Detroit. I can't argue with some of the things, but I do not agree with him on a number of points, especially on things like gun control. Don't like his policies or his approach to a lot of that. So that is concerning for sure. And John James, if he comes out on top, well, I think he is the odds-on favorite if it remains a three-way race. In a head-to-head race with Jocelyn Benson, James and Benson are in a statistical tie at 47-45. Jocelyn Benson has a slight advantage. But do you really think that the hangover from the Whitmer administration will play well on Election Day? I'm not convinced of that because, look, Whitmer fatigue is real. Fix the damn roads is something that won't go away. And so Governor Whitmer has some hills to climb, to say the very least. All right, shifting gears now back to Jack Smith. He's going to be on Capitol Hill today, is Jack Smith. And he's going to face a grilling over his two prosecutions of the former president at the time, Donald Trump, now the current president. Jack Smith, how were you motivated? Why did you go after the president the way you did? This is going to be on television. What time does this start? Is it 9 a.m. or 10? And Jack Smith will be there, and he's going to face tough questions. They paid people as much as $20,000 to come in and testify in front of the now disgraced former special counsel. $20,000. What do you want me to say? I mean, follow the money, folks. Follow the money. And when you pay witnesses, I think you probably get what you pay for. So Jack Smith will be there. Republicans have specifically criticized Smith for seeking gag orders against President Trump, some of which he got, by the way, during his presidential campaign, attempting to fast-track court proceedings and sending subpoenas for records and phone data of hundreds of people that were aligned with President Trump. I mean, this was not some meek prosecution. They were vigorous. They were aggressive. They were vicious, to say the least. And they're going to broach the controversial subpoenas Also, they're going to ask about those $20,000 payments to FBI sources. Smith, as you may recall, charged Trump with attempting to illegally overturn the 2020 election. But now we see the truth coming out of places like Georgia. More than 300,000 ballots that were counted that did not have valid signatures. You know what you saw on election night in Michigan, in Detroit, in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, in Georgia, in Atlanta, where they stopped counting. They all stopped counting at the same time. Remarkable, really. That sounds like fraud to me. It concerns me. Was the 2020 election on the up and up? I don't believe so. Did Donald Trump win? We'll never know. But it was not on the up and up. We know pretty conclusively now that Donald Trump won Georgia. And that means that John Ossoff, who won a Senate seat by a few thousand votes and forced a runoff, was probably not elected that night in 2020 in Georgia because you've got 300,000 ballots that were cast or allegedly cast, but were never certified or verified. That's enough to throw the entire election right there. That's enough to throw the entire election. Election integrity, the SAFE Act, critical components of elections going forward. You cannot allow people that do not have the right to vote to cast ballots. You cannot have that happen in America. Also, proving that you're a citizen of the United States and have the ability to vote, because all these motor voter laws have perverted the voter rolls. But I just saw the state of Oregon took 800,000 people off their voter rolls. And so I said to Ivy yesterday, I said, I wonder what's going to happen in Oregon this time around. I want to know, because will it change the percentages? How could it not? Mass mail-in ballots were always a scheme to rig elections. Always were. And they still are. They've got to go too. Some final thoughts on this day in a moment. Boy, are we going to have a lot to talk about on Free Speech Free for All Friday tomorrow here on the program. I mean, look at everything that's going on. You've got this Council of Peace that the president has put together, Board of Peace, excuse me, to bring peace to Gaza. The president showing just how obsolete and irrelevant the United Nations has become. You've got the Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, announcing at Davos that Donald Trump is exactly right about Greenland, that there has to be operational control of Greenland, that Denmark is not up for the job, that the other countries of Europe are not up for the job. There's one country up for the job that can defend Greenland and therefore put in the Golden Dome missile defense system, defend the North Atlantic from incursions from Russia and China and others that would do us harm. There's only one country that can do that, this country. And it's nice to see that people are lining up in support of Donald Trump, like Mark Rutte. I mean, that's a critical bit of support, an endorsement that is very, very important. Because it sends a message to the rest of the NATO countries, stop acting like children. Get in line with what makes sense. And what makes sense is what America has always done, protect Greenland. Denmark capitulated to the Nazis without a fight in World War II. The Kingdom of Denmark capitulated to the Nazis within about 5 minutes. Didn't put up a fight. And as a result of that, we put in the Greenland Defense Pact, which we operated for many years, and then we gave it back to Denmark. Never should have done that. That's why Harry Truman offered to buy Greenland for $100 million in 1946. Should have pressed that a lot harder. Dwight Eisenhower also put together a package to buy Greenland in 1955 and 56. Never made a formal offer. The fact of the matter is Greenland is integral in the defense of the United States, and we will have operational control, and the president says he has a deal in principle coming out of Davos. We'll have all of that for you on Free Speech Free for All Friday tomorrow. Until then, fight the good fight and keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is The Steve Gruber Show. And remember, only you, my friend, can save America.